What is going on, guys? So I thought I'd do something fun today because I feel like I don't really get to do list videos much on my YouTube. I always feel like I'm doing just review videos. And this is a trend that I see on TikTok a lot that I thought would be fun to do on my YouTube channel. And I know this is kind of a weird topic to get into, especially for someone like me who went to film school, because I know how difficult it is to make a movie. But as you can see from the title, I thought it would be fun to talk about 10 of the worst films that I've ever seen as far as my personal experience with these films. And I know art is subjective and things impact people differently. And so whenever I'm reviewing a movie, I always try to go into it from the perspective of like, okay, this person had a vision, there's a reason for this to be made. But there are some movies that are so incredibly frustrating that to me, they just feel like you just ask yourself the question, why was this ever brought to film? And so I thought it would be fun today for me to talk about 10 films that I've seen in my lifetime that I just think are absolutely horrendous, that are virtually insufferable. I will never watch any of these movies again. I think they're all really terrible, and I'm going to talk about 10 of them right now. Coming in at number 10 is the film Addicted to Fresno. And believe it or not, this is the only film on my list that I can say I did not make it all the way through. There are very few times in my life that I can really say that I've watched movies that I have not made it all the way through. But I watched the first 45 minutes of this film, and it was so incredibly offensive in a way that I don't think the filmmakers understood how offensive that they were being and targeting towards certain groups of people, and the way that the jokes came off, not even in a self-aware type of way, and with such an amazing cast of characters. I had really high expectations for this movie, and it was just absolutely abysmal. And it's one of the few movies in my life that I did not finish, and I will never watch this all the way through. Coming in at number 9 is the film Lemon from director Janicza Bravo. I really like Janicza Bravo a lot. I think she's an incredible human being who really does a lot for the film community and is really passionate about film, but this movie is just god-awful, and I don't understand why it was even made. There's people that refer to this as a dark comedy, which dark comedy is one of my favorite genres. I love films that are really subversive, that kind of put you in these spaces that make you uncomfortable. And this movie is it just felt like a huge inside joke between the people who made it, and that you're not going to pick up on 99% of what the humor in the film is. And most of it is just really dry and repetitive and boring. And with such an amazing cast of characters, I have no idea how you could make a film that was so insufferable. I don't really understand this one at all, or understand why anyone would enjoy it. I know it has incredibly low reviews online, and I know Janicza went on to make Zola, which is a film that I really didn't like either. Not this much. I could still sit through and watch Zola. This was insufferable, and I will never watch it again. Coming in at number 8 is M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender. So I'm a fan of M. Night Shyamalan. I feel like he's a misunderstood director that makes some films that aren't super great, but I think he's a passionate filmmaker that really cares about the material that he makes, even when it doesn't always work. But this is one of the worst interpretations of an incredible piece of art that I have ever seen. I have a lot of nostalgia about watching episodes of this when I was a kid, with just such wonderful characters. I love the world that this was built in, and this was a film that did not understand the characters or the environment or anything that the original creators of this material were setting out to do. I absolutely hate this with every fiber of my being and would not recommend it to a single person. Coming in at number 7 is the film Tusk. I cannot stand Kevin Smith as a filmmaker. I think his movies are insufferable. I think his sense of humor is horrible. I have never been a fan of any of his material, and this is like the worst of the worst. Make a horror movie about a person who is getting tortured, that is the most unlikable, awful human being in the entire world, that you don't care that he's going through it because he's awful, and the people in his life are also awful. And so why am I even watching this movie when every single person in it is terrible? At least make it something interesting as to why the person is doing these things. They try to tie in this interesting backstory with the guy who's kidnapped him that just doesn't work. Johnny Depp's performance in this is laughably horrible. I don't know why Kevin Smith thinks this caricature is funny whatsoever, but it's terrible. It's one of the worst A24 movies I've ever seen too. Do not know why they put money behind this, and knowing that he's trying to get a sequel made, why? This movie is just terrible. I will never watch it again. Coming in at number 6 is Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby. How do you take such a brilliant piece of literature and turn it into such a steaming pile of crap. This is a person that does not understand the source material whatsoever. He made the character of Jay Gatsby this weird person that it's not what he's like at all in the book. He's very like creeper, even like him having these certain things set up, all these different scenes that never existed in the book that I don't really understand why they were incorporated in the movie. I hate the soundtrack to this. I understand trying to appeal to the youth by adding different types of music into film, but like when you're making a movie that exists in the greatest time period of music that's ever existed, the 1920s, why in the hell would you not use 1920s swing music in your movie? I don't know. I just hate everything about this, and I have a huge attachment to the book, so that's probably why. But yeah, I just feel like people need to stop giving Baz Luhrmann money because his movies always suck. Coming in at number 5 is the film The Birth of a Nation. Being a film school graduate, I was required to watch this movie over and over and over and over again because of all the filmmaking techniques that came out of this movie being created. And you know what? There's no reason to watch it because the thing is, those things exist now, and that's really cool that they do exist, but I don't need to watch a horrible racist piece of propaganda created solely to promote the KKK to understand why filmmaking methods were made. And there's so many incredible uses of those methods in other films now that you don't need to watch a racist propaganda film to understand those types of things. And I wish film schools would stop teaching this so heavily. It's like 3 hours long. It is the most miserable experience I've ever had. The fact I've had to watch this movie more than once because of being in film school was a nightmare, and I would not recommend this to anyone. Coming in at number 4 is the film Dashcam from last year. This is a found footage film that gave a super right-wing, anti-vax homophobe the ability to spew their misinformation. It's really insufferable. It also makes no sense as a found footage film. There's so many moments where the camera continues rolling for no reason whatsoever. Random characters pick it up that have no interest in what was being filmed originally, yet they keep on filming. The location changes consistently make no sense. It's just a horrible found footage film that's made all the more terrible by its bad politics, and I don't know why this movie exists. Coming in at number 3 is the film Epic Movie. Now, when I talk about movies that have artistic intent, this whole wave of films that were made to just be spoofs of things that already existed make absolutely zero sense to me whatsoever, and this is one of those scenarios. I don't know why this movie exists. I don't know why any of those movies exist. They're not funny. It's so stuck in the time period that it's created as well that the references all feel incredibly dated if you watch them 2 to 3 years out from when they were created. I remember when I saw this movie the first time and just asked myself, why? Why does this movie exist? And all of them I've sadly seen: Epic Movie, Date Movie, Disaster Movie, and they're all horrible. They all are pieces of shit, and I would not recommend them to a single human being. Coming in at number 2, I'm a huge horror movie fan. This is a part of a horror movie franchise, but Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell is one of the worst movies I've ever sat through in my entire life. It's barely a movie. The performances are laughably bad. It is just horrible in every sense of the word. Does not understand the franchise whatsoever. Turns Jason into these like demon worm creatures that can just possess anyone that they want. Tried to lead up into something bigger. It's just horrible. Every time I revisit this franchise, I skip this movie. I don't even like Jason Takes Manhattan, but there's at least scenes in it that make that movie redeemable. This is just one of the worst movies of all time, and I will never see it again. And coming in at number 1, this isn't necessarily the worst movie I've ever seen, but it is one of the worst films I've ever seen, and that is Jack and Jill starring Adam Sandler. I poke fun at Adam Sandler a lot because he is an incredibly talented actor, but when it comes to him making his own films, he purposely makes garbage because he knows it's easy to capitalize on it. This movie is so terrible. None of the humor lands. It's so bloated and boring. I don't know how they got Al Pacino to be in this movie. It's like mind-boggling to me how that was even possible. And yeah, it's just an awful experience from start to finish. I don't know why anyone would even ironically enjoy this movie because there's nothing really to enjoy about it. So those are 10 of the worst films I've ever seen. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear some of the worst movies you have ever seen. So let me know in the comments what some of the worst films you've ever seen are. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.